I think that an example is going to be the most helpful way to talk about how you can identify these needs in other people. So this is one from when I was in Brazil, and I was out with a buddy one night, and we were friends, and he'd heard about what we did with our business, help people be more charismatic. He's like, oh, cool, whatever, interesting. Disinterested. And then we went out to a bar one night, and we just ran around like madmen, Ben and I. And we talked to everybody despite the fact that our Portuguese was terrible. Met a lot of people. We had people laughing. And I actually remember him that night just sort of standing back 6 feet away being like, what is going on here? And the night wrapped and it ended. And he called the next day, which was surprising because we weren't hanging out that often. And he said, listen, I want to do coaching. Like what I saw last night was awesome. And I can't do that. I want you to help me. So the first thing that we did is we just sat down and we talked because I want to understand what makes him tick. And so I started asking him questions. I said, all right, I'm going to go into coach mode now, but like, what is life about? Right? Describe how you were feeling last night. Tell me specifically what you were thinking when you were watching us. Tell me how you wanted to act but didn't. And as he got into it, he said, like, I want to be the guy that goes into a room and it's all eyes on him immediately. I want to have this, like, I want to have friends everywhere. I want to be able to high five the maitre d' at any place. I want to cut the line at the club. I want to have the prettiest girl on my arm. And as I'm listening to this, I'm going, okay, like, yes, there's certainty in there, and yes, there's a girl, so love and connection, but really what I'm hearing is significance, right? He wants to be the most special, unique, important person. Okay, so how does this play out for him? And I say, all right, so tell me about, like, last night. Like, you want all those things, but you weren't jumping into conversation. Like, what's going on in your head? And he said, I don't like to do that because if I feel like I try hard to speak to someone or get them to like me and they don't respond, that just makes me feel terrible. I'm going, okay, so he's got this sense of he wants to remain significant. And the way that he does that is by avoiding interactions with people that might make him feel not significant because they don't like him or because they reject him. And this is a very, very common pattern, by the way. So we go through it, and I have him sort of like, paint his ideal world. And, what would you like to do if you knew that they were going to respond to you positively? He says, I would have walked in, I would have high-fived everybody, I would have had a ton of fun. Eventually, like, the most beautiful girl in the room would have seen me. I would have walked right up to her and walked out with her on my arm. So, okay, so like I'm starting to get an understanding for his world. And if I just gone into it and said, all right, let's do that, man. Like you can do that. Like there's going to be a beautiful girlfriend at the end of the line for you. You can get all these things. It's going to work. That probably wouldn't have moved him. Because the first thing that I need to do is get leverage, right? And what I mean by get leverage very specifically is take his core driving emotion and show him that his current pattern of action is blowing it, is screwing him from getting what he really wants, because he hasn't figured that out yet. So what I have to show him very viscerally in his own language, in words that he used, is that he will not get this feeling of significance from hanging back and not speaking to people. So I say basically the following. I say, okay, like makes total sense. I'm totally in. But let me ask you, like, how many people do you think notice the guy in the club who just stands there, sips his drink, and is too nervous to talk to anybody? And he goes, probably no one. I said, okay. And like, I mean, do you think that most people probably feel the same way? I mean, my guess is that most people show up to that club, hang out with their friends, sip their drinks, go home, and then talk about like, oh yeah, like that girl was such a jerk, such a bitch to me. Like, oh, I couldn't even talk to her. And he goes, oh yeah, and now he's saying, holy crap, I'm behaving like everybody else. I said, how significant would it be, for the guy who's like paying for bottles, right? Who is paying women to surround him and shoot bottles and have the fireworks going? Like, is that the type of person you want to be? I mean, I know you said successful businessman, but like, is that what you're looking for people to hang out with you because they like your money? And again, this isn't what he wants. He wants to be special. He doesn't want to be liked for his money. He's like, no, that's not it. That's not it. I said, okay, how ballsy is the guy who maybe doesn't have a bottle there, but walks in, does not care what anybody else thinks, and makes a beeline for the most beautiful girl as soon as he sees her. And whether it goes well or not, he's the only one in there that has the stones to do that. What do you think of that guy? And his eyes lit up, and he's like, that's the guy that I want to be. And the reason is because I'd started to break down. I was like, listen, what you're doing by trying to earn a lot of money or trying to be cooler than the other people or like not speak to anyone to avoid rejection, that is not getting you significance. And then what I showed him was, here is a direct path to get all the significance that you want. If I try to persuade him in other terms, in terms of like, you're going to get this wonderful girlfriend and she'll care about you. Yes, he wants these things for sure. but what is driving him in that moment is significance. So this is the most important thing. You first need to understand, and this comes from listening very closely to why they do the things they do. It's not just enough to know that a person wants to make money or that a person would like to have a boyfriend or a girlfriend or they want to lose weight. That's not enough. Why do they want to lose the weight? Is it so that somebody will think well of them? Is it so that they can avoid heart disease? Those are going to indicate different needs, right? Heart disease, potentially certainty, right? Somebody thinking positive of them, significance. You need to be on the lookout for which needs drive them. Once you feel like you have a good handle on it, the next question is, all right, how can I show them that their current behavior of action or current plan of action is actually subverting the need that they want most? And then can I draw a direct path for them to get that need by behaving in a more empowering way that's going to be better for their future? That is step one. I do this all the time on my coaching calls. If you've ever had them, secret's out, right? This is what I'm doing. So this is the first thing to think about. I want to move now into something that is very, very effective. You can do this after, you can do this before, but it's called breaking patterns. And when you do this, people just cannot continue going down the same path that they're on. So it's really, really effective, and we'll touch on that next.